The federal government says it will discontinue budgetary allocations to professional bodies and councils effective 31st December 2026. In a memo to one of the affected councils dated 26 June 2023, the Budget Office of the Federation said the move was in line with the decision of the Presidential Committee on Salaries at its 13th meeting. The memo in circulation was signed by the Director General of the Budget Office of the Federation, Ben Akabweze. Funding would be stopped for at least 30 of the professional bodies and councils by December 2024, while budgetary allocations would be stopped for other bodies by December 2026. Some of the bodies and councils listed include Nigerian Press Council, Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria, Veterinary Council of Nigeria, Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, Council for the Regulation of Freight Forwarding in Nigeria, Council of Nigerian Mining Engineers and Geosciences, Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria, Health Records Registration Board, Nursing and Midwifery Council, Pharmacists Council of Nigeria Council, among others. Oh, the list is actually endless, but to make sense of this, let's speak to the Director General, Center for Credible Leadership and Citizens Awareness, Dr. Nwamba Gabriel. Thank you for joining us on TVC News at 1. What is your reaction to the federal government's plan, and what is the implication for these professional bodies and councils going forward?
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me. First of all, I want to state very clearly that the country called Nigeria is a country that is already hemorrhaging, a country that is bleeding heavily, going on the streets of China, looking for where to continuously borrow money, to fund even recurrent expenditures. Now, what we are seeing is that the federal government, following the decision of the Presidential Committee on Salaries, have declared very clearly that they have to stop forthwith, given the dates, in two tranches respectively, on the 1st of January 2024, and then in 2026, that is 2026 January. This is a welcome development. If Nigeria has to survive, if the country called Nigeria, the economic situation has to be improved, if proper funding has to be deployed in areas that are critical, most critical in the country, these are very decisive decisions that the federal government is taking, and it's a welcome development. It takes more than being a leader to take such decisions. And the decisions that have been taken so far by the government of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu is excellent. Although it is painful, like the removal of subsidy, complete removal of subsidy in the PMS, that's the petroleum product, that is petrol, it is difficult, it is biting hard, we are feeling the pains, but on the long run, it is something we are going to enjoy. But it takes a leader that is patriotic, it takes a leader that knows where he's going, it takes a leader that knows what is good for his people to take such a critical decision, and in the overall interest of the nation called Nigeria and the populace.
All right, Dr. Gabriel, let's talk about the implication of this for some of these bodies and councils. Some of them are health related, and they're expected to conduct research, for the propagation of those sectors. So what happens to them after now? How do we entrench standard practice? How do we ensure that going forward, they are able to maintain standard?
Yeah, you see, most of these bodies and councils, what the implication now is that they have to look for a medium to source for funds internally for themselves in order to be able to do these researches and do these findings that are, of course, imperative, for the scientific development of Nigeria. However, it is pertinent to also note that these bodies are not the only bodies that the federal government is funding in terms of researches. There are so many other bodies that are clearly marked as research bodies for which the federal government is also funding, to bring up, to generate, research, and then ensure that is entrenched in the scientific and the medical development of the country. So the implication clearly is that these bodies and councils have to look for a medium for themselves to source for their own funding, internally, depending on how the respective bodies and councils deem fit.
Well, the move is part of government cost-cutting measures, but what would you say should be priority, that the fund that was initially being expended on these bodies be expended on going forward?
Yeah, these bodies, you see, Nigeria does not, as a nation, does not even have enough to pay salaries, to overhead costs, and all that. You don't even have enough. And meanwhile, if you look at the inflationary trend, the inflation is biting harder. Governments have to rejig, and look for ways to get money to be able to pay salaries and keep the nation going. Capital infrastructural development, and ensure that the country is fit. Like I mentioned earlier, there are also other bodies that the federal government is also funding in terms of research. These bodies are also doing well, and some of them have come up with several innovations and findings, which is very good, especially in the dynamic world we are in, especially as medical sciences is concerned. But these bodies and councils, it's imperative they start looking for how to get their own funding internally to be able to keep afloat. But however, this move by the federal government, led by President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, is a welcome development. It's an excellent development, and it will impact positively in the overall well-being of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
All right, then, Director General, Center for Credible Leadership and Citizens Awareness, Dr. Mabu Gabriel, thank you for talking to us on TVC News at 1.
Thanks for having me. Good afternoon.